MLS Aces episode 218. This is your host, Tom Sweezy. I'm joined by Vaughn Pullman directly that way. Oh, I got that right. That was impressive. And also down below me, that one's easy, Jason Vuvang. Jason, Vaughn, how are you guys?
So good. So happy to be here.
It's March, guys.
I mean, look.
I don't have my voice back yet. I lost my voice in DC, so bear with me on that.
Yes, Vaughn went to Charlotte FC's first away day up at Audi Field up in DC. We will, Vaughn, I want to hear that story, but we'll save your voice for that story a little bit later on. Beautiful stadium there, so I'm excited to hear your opinions of Audi Field as well. But you know, week one has come and gone. Like, it's crazy. I feel like it was already just last week where I mean, it was last week, but like the hecticness of last week of like prepping seasons, like conversations and previews and all that crap. It's calming because now we can talk about results and play on the field and who's already in, who's out. I mean, sorry, Cincinnati. We'll dive into that in a little bit. But first things first, I think we have to give, obviously our major thanks to our sponsor, Soccer 90, right? Because they I don't know, they rock with us every single week, and it's pretty nice to have them on our side every single time. But for you guys listening, for anyone watching this live afterwards, whatever it may be, make soccer90.com the primary source for all of your Major League Soccer, U.S. national team, and international club gear. MLS is back, guys, and Soccer 90 has all the brand new jerseys, tees, and more available. So gear up now and make sure that you're ready for, the rest of the MLS season. All MLS Aces listeners, you guys can receive 20% off your entire purchase when you use promo code MLS Aces at checkout. That's MLSACES. If you're watching this live or afterwards, it is on the ticker down below. So make sure you use that promo code at checkout. Some exclusions may apply. Thank you to Soccer 90 for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Once again, boys, let's dive into week one. And actually, before we dive into week one, I definitely just want to say, sorry, Vaughn, I kicked it off too early there. Apologize on that one. But before we dive into week one, I definitely just want to say and kind of bring up, obviously, a real world thing. We always have to do it from time to time when, whenever real world shit pops off. But the whole kind of Ukraine-Russia situation going on right now, obviously, we stand with the people of Ukraine. I think it's obviously like a world tragedy when people are kind of bringing up the idea of World War III and everything going on. Just want to say to the rest of the world, and I'm sure a majority of people listening, watching, and who just kind of believe this way, that we stand with Ukraine. We stand with the people of Ukraine. The Ukraine president right now, that dude is the biggest badass living, and I love everything coming from him. His wife as well out there. It's an absolute shame, but I think we, the rest of the world, the United States, everyone else, just really kind of giving the support to Ukraine and its people is obviously what you can only really do at this point. So I don't know, Vaughn, Jason, if you guys want to say anything about the whole situation, please go for it. Otherwise, we can move forward into Major League Soccer.
Yeah, it's just encouraging to see so many people that are there for Ukraine, and that the global. I think people are getting on the same page with that, and that's touching. Obviously, the displays we saw across Major League Soccer this first week were really also, and across global soccer, right? Like it's the beautiful game, it's the world's game, and seeing everybody come together in solidarity in support of Ukraine has been a very touching thing. And we have to remember that, there's all this stuff that's happening on the field, but there's so much more that's so much bigger happening off of it. I think we would have been remiss to not cover it.
No, 100%. And I really like you said, Vaughn, some of I think just showcases from around the world of support for Ukraine. Like I think Brøndby, they actually reversed their jersey. Their jersey's usually the opposite of Ukraine's flag. They flipped it so that it was representing Ukraine's flag. So obviously just cool stuff like that of just kind of, like you said, Vaughn, it's the world's game. everyone follows soccer in some sort, and it's really cool just to kind of have the global platform to support Ukraine during a time like this. Also, obviously, great stuff to see FIFA actually step in. Maybe they probably should have done it a little bit quicker, but beggars can't be choosers of FIFA stepping in and banning Russian, both the men's and women's team from any future competitions for right now. Obviously, everything going on, so no one will be obviously traveling to Russia or having Russia travel to their country to play a soccer game.
UEFA as well.
So yeah. Yes, UEFA as well. Thank you, Jason. So, good stuff happening in that sense, but continue to show your support for Ukraine and everything going on over there. To step away from the crappiness of that situation and dive into the happiness of Major League Soccer Week 1 season. MLS is back, baby. Vaughn, thank you for putting that up for a second time. I think the biggest thing that I kind of want to dive into first about MLS Week 1 was that I think we talked about it a lot this offseason, right? There was a lot of young players, a lot of talent exiting Major League Soccer. Talked about it a lot. I think, Vaughn, you definitely hit a major point on that this offseason as well. Who was going to come in to replace that? And there was a lot of, debuts across Major League Soccer in Week 1 from players coming outside the league to Major League Soccer, or maybe players, trading or switching teams in Major League Soccer for Week 1. Was there, Jason, I'll start with you. Obviously, I think there's one that majorly sticks out to you, but was there a debut outside of Shaqiri, and you can also touch on Shaqiri if you want, that really stood out to you Week 1 that you were like, wow, impressive, or just cool to see, or whatever it may be?
I mean, I think Vaughn probably is better to speak on this one than I am because he was at the game, but I would say Michael Estrada for DC United scoring 2 goals. Sorry, Vaughn. But, I mean, anytime a guy can debut and score 2 goals for the team in that debut, what more can you ask for, right? So I would say that's one that really stood out for me, just in the sense that the impact is already being made. It's immediate. And I think DC really values that as a team. I think they needed that. I needed a guy to come in and just hit the ground running for them. And it's a great start. And I'm pretty sure DC's next 3 games aren't against the best of opponents.
I got you right here.
Oh, yes. Cincinnati, Chicago, Toronto.
That's not. I mean, Toronto might be good at that point, but yeah,
maybe we'll Chicago might be good at that point too. Yeah, if we're gonna just play that game.
So I guess let's stick on the Estrada train, Vaughn. Obviously, Jason touched on it. You were at the game. What did you take of Estrada Game 1 live in person for DC?
He was fine. I mean, yes, it was a brace, but I can make arguments against both goals. I mean,
it was a bit controversial.
The first goal, I have a really hard time with that penalty. I really don't think that it was a handball in the box. That's very harsh ruling. But when Estrada went to take the kick, he made it. So credit to him there. The one at the end of the half where he made it 2-0. It was deflected off of Christian Fuchs. That's not a goal 10 times. Like 9 out of 10 times that's going anywhere but in the net. So at least he took his opportunity. He took the shot. Credit to him there. But is that repeatable? Is this going to be the start of I didn't see anything from Estrada that tells me he's going to be the next 34 goal scorer in MLS.
My only counterpoint to that, Vaughn, is I feel like obviously it's been mentioned before, on this podcast, plenty of other platforms as well. A hot striker wins you games. A confident striker is also something very much needed. Maybe these weren't the cleanest goals in the world, but I mean, at the end of the day, Estrada can look back 2 goals Week 1. Maybe this is a confidence boost leading forward for a DC United team, right? So, at the end of the day,
especially in your debut.
Yeah. Right? Yes, exactly. In your debut
coming into a new league.
Yeah. So it helps. Like I'm saying, the confidence for a striker helps. A confident striker scoring goals, which way, will help you win games too. So if you're Estrada, you're a Lasada, you're a DC United fan, may not be the cleanest, but you have to be happy.
Yeah. The best player on the field by far, though, for me was Andy Nahar. I mean, he was and Bill Hamid. They both had good games, but Nahar was buzzing.
I mean, yeah, Bill Hamid, I think 5 saves and a clean sheet week 1 win. Like, that's sick. And I mean, Andy Nahar continues to look like Andy Nahar under Lasada last year, right? Like, easily one of their best players. So, I mean, I completely agree with you there. And I guess, well, I mean, do you guys want to continue with the debuts, or Vaughn, do you want to talk about your trip to DC? We can go either way.
Let's keep going down. We'll get to it.
Got it. So let's talk more debuts. I think one that really stood out to me that I wanted to mention was Sebastian Lletget. Obviously, that Revs Portland game Saturday night, it was like the game of the night, right? I think Lletget scoring under Bruce Arena early, just like you could tell like the amount of shit Lletget like understood. He's been like that's been talked about him over the past year, and maybe some poor performances for club and country that's really maybe impacted him mentally and physically, whatever it may be. So I think scoring early in his Rev career, I think was big for him. I was happy to see him get out there. I was happy to see him put in a very good shift overall. So I personally think the Lletget debut for the Revs underneath Bruce Arena was maybe one of the biggest debuts when you're looking at all of that across Major League Soccer. But I don't know. You guys have any Lletget takes, or if not, Vaughn, you can talk about another debut.
No, I mean, it was just nice to see Lletget start hot. I mean, getting back with Arena and being a competitor there, filling the shoes for the Revs is big. It's big. Yeah. So yeah, very good for him and a good sign for the Revs.
A road point's a great way to start the season. Don't let anyone tell you differently.
Yeah. No, especially after, like with what the Revs had to deal with getting both of their CCL games canceled with Cavalier FC, right? Like, you probably have a mindset going into it, like we're ready for CCL action. That's canceled. We win, woohoo. But now we haven't really had a live game prepping and leading up into that. So good to see them get a point on the road, Jason. I think that's a good point there. Vaughn, do you have a debut that stood out to you week 1?
I'll talk about the other one that was hurtful, which was the Atlanta game against Sporting Kansas City. I had to watch this one on delay because I was driving back from DC, so I actually missed this one live. But yeah, Dwyer getting his revenge on Sporting Kansas City, go figure, getting his goal. I also had the flavor of Andrew Gutman having a man of the match performance with the Charlotte connection to him. So yeah. Just felt like more and more gut punches there. And then Caleb Wiley getting his goal, absolutely shredding the defense. Oh my God, so sad. Getting those types of results from those guys. I mean, Atlanta was missing a ton of their normal starters. Obviously, Dwyer had to come on prematurely out there. And luckily they had the injury to Araju, but it sounds like he's going to be able to come back in 4 to 6 weeks probably. So that they avoided anything major there. Atlanta was impressive. Atlanta looked good and well-deserved win. And then starting on that front foot with Gonzalo Pineda is really good too.
I mean, a lot of things there. One, I found out this week I've been saying Araju's last name completely wrong. I keep on going Araujo, maybe because of Julian Araujo, and it's spelt similarly. So I apologize, Luis Araju. I will be saying it correctly from now on. But the Dwyer goal, so Tom Bogert put out that was Dwyer's first goal since September 21st of 2019. That's ridiculous. Like, I just haven't realized that Dwyer really hasn't been performing, I guess, for that long. So that was an interesting point. And then Caleb Wiley, I think, could arguably be the story of the weekend, just because it's not like this overly special moment, but it's just a cool moment. I really think, and like seeing MLS clubs really starting to see the fruits of their labor with their academies, right? Like, we've been seeing it, like, right, like this offseason, the offseason before that, of these academy kids going over, getting a bunch of cash for their clubs, everything like that. But Wiley signed as homegrown contract in January. He subs in late this week while obviously Atlanta United's up big. Scores in his debut. 17-year-old left back, left wing back, whatever you want to call him. Like that's insane. Like just good for the kid. Good for Atlanta that you have a player who's come up through your academy. He played a bunch for Atlanta too. I think like 30 or so games for Atlanta too, and now he's like scoring as a left back in his
first
debut.
professional goal.
Yeah.
Never scored for Atlanta United too.
Oh my gosh.
even more of that. So like just a very cool story, and fingers crossed, knock on wood, let's hope Caleb Wiley is the next big money departure from Major League Soccer, right? Or that there's a few more in between, but let's hope that he's another big one that's leaving MLS soon for a European career. Jason, anything on Atlanta, Wiley, Dwyer, Gutman, anything like that, or another
Atlanta's got their swagger back, honestly. Like that team, 60,000 people there, that they're killing it like that. I mean, there was a little bit in the back of my mind watching that game, like,
shit.
What's about to happen?
I hate them already.
I've seen this before. I've seen this story before.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little worrisome. I mean, obviously, how do you Araujo? Araujo. I mean,
yeah,
he looked pretty good, and I don't know what 30-some minutes he was on there.
Obviously, that little chip was nice.
He had the goal. So if he can heal up and get back to that, I mean, that's scary. They're going to be a scary team this year. I think we kind of expected them to be a little bit, better, but I don't know. They're hitting the ground running hard.
Vaughn, we were on the Twitter Spaces the other night together with the Soccer Goose, and I called Andrew Gutman an upgrade at left back from George Bello, and I don't know why I feel like that was wrong, but I want to stick to my guns and say that was right. Do you guys feel like Gutman, at least again in MLS purposes, is a better left back upgrade?
Like
for
me and Vaughn both have ties to Gutman.
You guys do.
Here's the thing: is there are two players that are at totally different points in their careers, right? Like, George Bello has a much higher ceiling. Like global transfer market, his level of play, long term, I think he's in another class than Gutman. But Gutman and what he can provide on the offensive side of the ball is MLS elite. I mean, this is a guy that was a Herman Trophy winner. I think he had 11 goals and 9 assists his senior year. Like and at left back. So and he's shown when he gets into the right system, when he was at Red Bulls, he was very, very good. So I think
even with Cincinnati, he wasn't bad.
He's a good two-way player. He fights for everything. He is incredible on the offensive side of the ball. He's okay taking guys on. He's good whipping the ball in. He's good at taking chances. He grinds for everything. And so he's the sort of guy that every MLS team needs an Andrew Gutman. And so I think he's going to thrive in Atlanta. I mean, I really do. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Gutman stan. Like I was sitting behind him watching El Clasico at Independence offices. Like Gutman's a cool dude. But like, I think between the two of them, Gutman is going to be the one that has the bigger MLS career. Obviously Bella's gone, but like he can put up bigger stats.
Yeah. And I mean, he's 25. That's not like, it's not like he's 30 or 29,
honestly, that's 30. Older than I would have predicted.
What did you think he was? 22?
Yeah, like 23 maybe. I don't know. That's not like a huge difference, but it definitely wouldn't have predicted 25. 25 is the oldest.
I think he was 21 when he left college. Like I think he was 21, 22.
For right?
Yeah.
Well, I think at the end of the day,
really the larger that one.
The larger conversation comes down to Atlanta United. It looks like after week 1 they're back. The bad boys of MLS are back. So it's good to see, but at the same time, like we can hate them again. So it's all good.
But it's fun to hate them.
Yeah, no, and I'm sure I think they like
about
the
it. Like, it's hating them, man. But like, I kind of like it. They're like a villain.
Yeah, but they like that. They like the villain aspect, and I mean, I don't know. It's going to be a scary year for them. It just has that feeling. Watch in like 3, 4, 5 weeks from now, they're like bottom of the Eastern Conference. But whatever, we'll tackle that when it comes to it. When we look dumb there.
Hey, it's week 1. We get to make irrational.
Yeah,
year predictions.
Everyone else is doing it. Yeah. The one debut I quickly wanted to mention, don't want to dive too deep into it, but it was winger Yeboah for the Columbus Crew. I watched a lot of Crew tape this weekend, and Yeboah was part of like all of it. He had an assist on Derek Etienne Jr.'s goals, but he had 3 other key passes in the game. Like he was like just dishing out balls all across the offense. Obviously, Vancouver really put in a poor performance week 1 defensively. Like they were not getting back on defense. So I'm not gonna again make any over rational judgment here of like Yeboah being this amazing starting winger for them. I don't think so. I don't know right now, but just for what he had up against him in week 1 with what the Whitecaps were giving him, he took advantage of it. And obviously, I think he had to give Caleb Porter an impressive performance and debut for the club. So I wanted to give Yeboah some love there. Jason, do you have any other debut you wanna quickly touch on?
I mean, we should mention Shaqiri.
You can if you want.
I mean, obviously
he didn't score, so.
Well, the game itself, nobody scored in that game. Okay, you didn't even feel the need to mention it in your post. But yeah, I mean, obviously it wasn't the most exciting game, but I felt like Shaqiri really had some great passes. He kind of commanded the ball really well. Played well on ball and off ball. And I feel like he elevated a lot of the other players. I mean, this game was weird. There was a ton of missed very good chances. Like, you could have told me this game ended 2-2 or something. I would have believed you on both sides because, I mean, the goalkeeping.
So it was a Chicago Fire game is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, basically the Fire game. Every game could either end 2-2, 5-5, or 0-0. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think Slonina had a great game. I think he had 5 saves as well in the shutout, 4 or 5. But Shaqiri looked good. I'm pretty confident in our ability to just be decent. I don't know. I mean, it was a tough game to draw any conclusions from. We really have to finish some open chances. It plagued us last year, and hopefully it won't do it again.
Well, I will say this about Shaqiri's debut for the listeners who do like their stats and their XGs and everything like that. Shaqiri had a .42 XA, so expected assists. So it was nice. 5 key passes on the game. Like Shaqiri obviously had his presence felt for the Chicago Fire, which I think
he really seemed to boost Ivanov Stanislav his performance as well.
Okay. Well, I mean, hey, you're the Fire fan here. You got to keep us updated with that. So, the other point to that Fire game, really quickly, Rafael.
I got to make sure you don't forget they exist.
Rafael Sheehan getting the captain's armband.
And he played great. He was a great leader out there.
I just wasn't expecting it from a newcomer.
He's a guy that he's got experience, and we're gonna need him to really command that defense because keep him in place, lead him well.
Yeah.
The upside's pretty good, I guess, but with him leading it, I mean that's way better than Calvo.
You're not wrong there. The other player that I guess we can quickly just mention in a debut that obviously didn't score. We're not talking about everyone else who scored like Caleb Wiley out here, but Douglas Costa for the Galaxy. He obviously had his debut against New York City FC in their 1-0 win. He was there. He had a few shots on target. I thought he looked fine. It just wasn't anything like, whoa, like Douglas Costa's here. So Costa also obviously debuted there. Vaughn, any other debut that we may have missed, I may have missed? I don't know if there's anyone else notable that you want to bring up or chat about.
I mean, there was so much. I mean, we didn't even mention for Inter Miami, what was it? 8 of their 11 guys on the field were all new.
I mean,
like
yeah,
the whole team was
Yedlin's
debuting.
back. Some guys.
Oh,
like
Yedlin
that,
with a really nice dive. I forgot to mention that.
Yedlin didn't look bad. It was good to see him back.
He didn't look bad. He's also playing the Fire though.
Yeah, well, you guys are supposed to be good, Jason. Build them up, confidence.
Yeah, well, we're good. We're good. I mean, he had to dive to try and win a penalty, and then he got a yellow card. So we keep bringing that up.
Noah Allen, the left back for Inter Miami, he's an academy kid. I guess he's a left wing back or left midfielder, however they played him really in this one. But he's a really good young talent.
He looks pretty good.
He's one to look out for the future for Miami. I think he might be their big first academy product sale. So just another one there. Yeah, I guess that's really it for debuts. Paul Arriola had an assist in his debut for Dallas. That was big. Yeah, but that's really much it there. I guess let's focus a little bit more specific on specific games. Obviously, we've touched games throughout this, but my question for you guys, and Vaughn, I'll turn it to you first, is Carlos Vela back? Is he back to being MVP, leading the league? This is the dude in Major League Soccer. Obviously, Vela had a hat trick in LAFC's 3-0 win over the Rapids in week 1.
I think it's very, very simple. Carlos Vela is healthy, and Carlos Vela is hungry. Those are
2.3.
Yeah.
Carlos Vela's in a contract year.
That's why he's hungry, though. That's the whole point. Is he's got a contract he's chasing, and he's either going to get it with LAFC. It looks like it's very, very close. But if that falls through, he's going to want suitors out there on the global market. He also, his age, this is going to be probably one of his last contracts that he's going to be signing. Could only have this one, maybe one more beyond that, or he's going to start stringing together a whole bunch of 1-year contracts. So to me, he made a statement coming out, and yes, I think he is absolutely back. It was vintage. I mean, it was a penalty. It was cutting onto the left foot. I mean, he's just so dangerous. And I think it's just scratching the surface. I still think, I don't even remember the total he had on his goals plus assists in his MVP year. But he didn't have a Christian Arango up top for that. Yes, he had Diego Rossi, but he did not have Christian Arango. And I think that's a whole nother wrinkle to this. So yeah, I think Carlos Vela is absolutely back. I think he put the league on notice, and I think this is also a sign that LAFC is going to be just fine post Bradley. They're going to be just fine with Cherundolo because they are still loaded with talent.
Carlos Vela's MVP year, I don't even these numbers are ridiculous.
It was in the 40s. It was up there.
He had 49 combined goals and assists. 34 goals and 15 assists. That's stupid numbers. Obviously, that's a 30-year-old, 29-year-old Carlos Vela. He's 33 now, but look, week 1, a hat trick is a beautiful way to start off your season. I kind of, in my brain, when I was saying it to nobody, because I talked to you guys about MLS and no one else about MLS. Carlos Vela getting a hat trick week 1 is opening up your box of McNuggets, and the McDonald's worker had an extra McNugget sitting on top. You ordered a 12 count and they gave you a 13, and you're like, that's my guy. Carlos Vela opening up the season in a special moment like that, that's my guy. Love seeing it. So Jason, I'll go back to you. I'll go to you with the same question. Carlos Vela, did you like what you saw? Is he back, or is he just,
He's back. I mean, everything Vaughn said is correct. He's back. This is also against Colorado, who has their own issues going on at the moment, it seems. But they were a top team last year. They were good. It seems like this is quite a different team from last year for Colorado, but yeah, I mean, Vela, he just looks like his dominant self. He's a force when he's out there. And I feel like he just came in and he was like, did you guys forget about me? Hello? Because he dominated. I mean, this is the Vela we always expected. Obviously, with injuries, it kind of derailed a lot of a couple seasons here. And like Vaughn said, he's healthy and he's hungry. I mean, 2 H's. That's all you need.
Hungry Vela.
hungry Vela.
I'm more on the hungry side of it for Vela. I do know, yes, he had physical injuries, but I guess maybe I will continue on the bashing of he just didn't really want to be there, it seemed like. But maybe now in a contract year, Vaughn, like you're saying, while he's getting close to the end of his career, he does want to still get paid a little bit. So, look,
never underestimate money.
If you can pull together this Carlos Vela week in, week out, LAFC's an MLS Cup contender without a doubt. Obviously, the rest of the team look good. Like I'm gonna say, like Jose Cifuentes in the midfield, like 2 assists to his name. Obviously, again, you have Carlos Vela scoring. It's nice. It's easy to tack home an assist, but Cifuentes looked good. Ilie Sanchez looked good. Kellen Acosta, I didn't think looked bad. Arango didn't even start. Arango came in with like 20 minutes left, and you know, once he gets going, he's gonna make his impact. Franco Escobar, I didn't think looked bad. So once this team, I think once these guys still continue to gel and do well, I think LAFC could be an absolute force. Again, it's week 1. We'll see how things go. Well, I'll throw that, you know, disclaimer throughout the entire thing, but Jason, you mentioned a point about Colorado. Colorado loses big to LAFC 3-0. Obviously,
0.3 expected goals.
0.3 expected goals. This is coming off of their CCL loss to Comunicaciones, which was an embarrassing loss, if you ask me. I was very openly bashing the Rapids on Twitter the night of that second leg. Are you concerned about the Colorado Rapids, Jason? Because I have my point. I'll get to it at the end once I ask you guys. But are you right now in like panic mode for Colorado?
Yeah, a little bit, because it doesn't seem to be. I mean, they didn't have a shot for like 60 minutes, like for the entire midsection of this game, from like the 20th minute to like the 80th minute. No shots on goal. No shots. Like you can't fake that, right? Like that's just bad. 0.3 expected goals. That's like not creating anything. So if you're going to go 90 minutes and do basically nothing and let in 3 goals and let Vela dominate, this isn't a team that's coming out of like wooden spoon contention. This is a team that came out last season from the playoffs. Like they were a very, very good team last season, top of the conference. So there's really no excuse why they should just kind of roll over and die like this, besides just mismanagement and, you know, everything that you're about to say. But that's my thing. I mean, it looks bad, and it is bad for them.
Yeah. Vaughn, you have any Colorado takes or points after this week?
I mean, I disagree. I don't think it's time to panic quite yet for them. I mean, this is a team that was top of the West. And I think they kind of thrive in that role of being, you know, what's the right word I'm trying to think of? Undervalued, right? Like the expectations for them are lower. And so I think there's gonna be a regression. I think we all expect a regression. We don't expect them to repeat at the top of the Western Conference, but this is still a good team. This is a team that's going to be defensively sound. All of the CCL teams struggled this week 1.
Yeah.
None of them got a win. So for Colorado, no, they had to play CCL. They went on the road to Carlos Vela, who's clearly back to being himself. I'm going to throw that game out. I'm not going to judge them on that result. I think Colorado is going to be okay. They've got Robin Fraser. They've got a defensive mindset. Do they have guys they've got to replace and guys have to step up? Of course. But like we talked about in the season previews, I think they also have incredible flexibility that if they think they have a shot at really doing it, they've also got the resources and the assets available to go beef that up. So I think they're going to be fine.
Yes, I'm kind of in the middle ground of both of you. I'm worried, but I'm not like smacking. And Jason, I'm not that you said you were smacking the panic button, but I'm worried about the Rapids. I'm not like, you know, saying like, you know, the Rapids are doomed. They're going to finish last in the West. I think this team is still sound enough to you know, whatever you want to say, the classic cliches, make some noise, you know, push for the playoffs, whatever it may be, right? I agree. Like there's going to be a regression from finishing first in the West last year, but My concern is, to your point, Vaughn, is who is that guy that steps up? Because there is no one that is doing it through two very struggling games, right? Like, Jason, you mentioned the XG against LAFC. Like, that's not like, yes, Carlos Vela putting LAFC up front early and continuing to score puts a lot of pressure on the Rapids. But if you're not creating anything to then counterbalance what Carlos Vela is doing against you for your Rapids style that's very defensive, you pride yourself on being an overly defensive team, 5 in the back, your fullbacks are attacking, whatever it may be, like, you need to do something then to counter what you're going to get out of playing a star like Carlos Vela, because there's plenty of stars in Major League Soccer that can do what Carlos Vela is doing. My whole issue with it, you're going to hear me say this all season long, it's just my prediction, so you two and Sam better buckle up, and if you are a Twitter follower of mine, you better buckle up. Stan Kroenke needs to take out the checkbook and sign 1 DP. I'm not saying 3. I'm not saying 2. Sign 1 DP. Sign a fucking striker. Sign your Hani Mukhtar. Sign your whoever you want it to be. I don't care. Just sign a striker. Sign an impactful player in the attacking midfield, whatever. A winger. I don't care. Actually, don't sign a winger because you have 17 of them. Sign a striker, a dude who can play up top, who can score you 10 goals. That's all you need is 10 goals. Follow what other MLS clubs are doing, because the Rapids have such the strong capability of doing well. Maybe your defense would perform better if they didn't have to carry the load and the brunt and the force for 90 minutes, and they could have a dude up top who could give them a little bit of relaxation and not a ton of pressure. So that's my only take. Rapids, sign a DP, sign a striker. Just please do it, because I want to see Robin Fraser and the Rapids do well, and they can do well. Just Kroenke open up the damn checkbook. That's my only take, and I'm sure you'll be hearing it next week, folks. So stay tuned for that one. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about another team who was pretty good 2 years ago, who looked to have found a little bit of form. I know we chatted a little bit about it, Jason, and I know this was one you kind of wanted to touch on, but I'll start with you, though. Columbus, they put the smackdown on the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game where I really probably am overreacting to, because of how dominant the Crew looked. Because when I watch this game,
at least you're aware.
I mean, it's always an overreaction in week one, but the Crew looked unbeatable. I mean, they looked really good. You know how a lot of teams come in to a new season and, it's choppy, balls are going a little further than they need to. People are kind of not on the same page. Columbus didn't have any of that. And maybe that some of it is playing Vancouver, but regardless, like, they didn't have that issue. They looked smooth, they looked connected, and they looked like they were playing together. And I think regardless of who you're playing, regardless of the result, if you're playing together and if they can replicate a performance where they're all on the same page, they know what they're doing, regardless of all the players, right? Like, Zelarayan was awesome in this game. You mentioned Yeboah also. He was great. Yeah. Like, they just look good, and I think, like I'm saying, regardless of team who they're playing, they look scary to me, and they look like a team that, coming off of a really mediocre season that I think we all expected to be better, this might be, a little bit of a bounce back.
And honestly, just makes me believe harder and harder that the Caleb Porter curse is real, right? Like, just after,
there's no reason it's not.
Because, like, it's not like this is that drastic of a different team, right? Like, mostly everyone who's here, outside of Yeboah, outside of, I think, another central midfielder. I know Artur was hurt for most of last year. Like, outside of a few guys, this is the same exact team. And like, we very rarely saw a performance like this from Columbus in 2021. Obviously, again, it's week one, whatever, but I really was impressed with Zelarayan. He's a game winner. He is going to be that leader. He's the only one that looked somewhat capable in 2021. And if he can continue that in 2022 and these dudes around him can perform, I mean, Miguel Berry continues to score. I don't know. I heard, who was it? Matthew Doyle. He said that they should trade Zardes to Columbus for like $2 million in GAM and just start Berry up top. I don't know if I'm at that point of believing in Miguel Berry, but if the kid continues to score, you got to keep throwing him up there.
Aiden Morris coming back.
Aiden Morris kicked the ever-loving shit out of someone's back in this game. Like, absolutely full wind up.
Oh, I
like,
did see that.
Rocked Ryan Gauld. I think it was Ryan Gauld in his back. And Morris got the yellow, and he was like, yep, and I just kept talking.
Can't argue with that one.
Derek Etienne Jr., friend of the pod, he looked filthy. I felt like he was involved in all 4 goals, whether he got the goal, got the assist, or, he kind of helped create that buildup. He looked absolutely dangerous. Columbus is a good team. They have a lot of talent, Jason, like you said. There's a lot of players coming back. I just want to, I just don't know if they can pull off what they did in 2020 or kind of be to that dominant level. But Columbus feels like a team like Atlanta, like LAFC, who really, I think, are primed to come back from where they were 2 years ago. Vaughn, I don't know if you have any Columbus takes, but if not, no worries. We can dive into your road trip to Audi Field in DC.
Yeah, it's Caleb. It's a yo-yo Caleb Porter team. So yeah, they're going to be back in the playoffs. They're going to be powerful. They're going to probably go on a deep run, and yeah. But are we jumping into my DC experience? Mr. Pullman goes to DC.
Mr. Pullman goes to DC. Yes, I want to hear about the Pullman experience in DC.
It was incredible. I mean, I've never been feeling more confident after a 3-0 loss in my entire life. I was comparing it to Sporting KC game. Like, I feel a totally different way about the 3-0 for Charlotte versus the 3-1 for Sporting Kansas City. I will say, after getting to DC, I went to the Screaming Eagles tailgate. They were very welcoming to the Charlotte fans. Had an incredible experience there. They have this little, it's like a conservation building that's like a block and a half from the stadium, from the supporters entrance. And then you literally are on the water, right on the river, on the patio, free drinks are flowing. And then able to just walk right on into the stadium. It was so memorable. I mean, the atmosphere that all of the Charlotte supporters made, Mint City Collective, Blue Furia, QC Royals, Southbound and Crown, excuse me. It was really special, and a memory I'm going to cherish for forever. The energy when we scored the goal that was taken back. I can't wait to relive it this coming week. I really hope we can do that in front of 70 to 75,000 fans here in Charlotte. I'm almost trying to hold back because I feel like there's going to be such a different dialogue this time next week when I'm going to be talking about Charlotte. It was a very special experience. I'm going to cherish it for forever. I felt confident about what the team's doing. I really felt they competed well. If they play like that all year, the results will come. That's my ultimate take. This was a team that showed well against DC, had some unfortunate calls, some unfortunate bounces, but they competed and they were in it. And another week, they're going to get those shots past Hamid. They weren't bad shots. Hamid played very well and kept them out. But I went back and watched it and I'm like, no, there were 3 or 4 goal scoring chances that another week those fall, and we're like, whoa, Charlotte's the expansion team that went into DC and it was a 3-1 win for them. Like it could have easily gone that way. They played well enough for that, and it just, the bounces didn't go there. It wasn't their day. And that was without their DP, Karol Swiderski, out there. That was without Sergio Ruiz out there. That was without playing their preferred formation of the 4-3-3. And this is an expansion team that's going to grow into the season, that's going to further develop their style. I thought they had moments where they really did a good job of playing that system that we've talked about so much about Miguel Angel Ramirez's game model. We saw clear ideas and clear passages of play where they were trying to do exactly what I've seen in game film of Mar teams. So they're already starting to take stuff from the training pitch and translate it on the field against real competition. And so that they were competing to that level, that they were in it, that that I saw those positive moments makes me very excited for the rest of the year. Like I said before, and I said in the previews, I just still do not see this team as a wooden spoon contender. There's too much talent there, and I just don't think that they're as low as some people are talking about them. And my only hesitation is in bumping them up is the goal distribution. That's what I've got to start seeing. That's what we've all got to start seeing is the ball actually make it into the back of the net. And how does that change game states and all that sort of stuff? So that's my take. And I could go on forever. I could do a whole episode on just Charlotte. And I know that's what we're not here for. But I know next week's going to be really special, and I'll get to share some of my thoughts after that.
Well, Vaughn, I do know a lot of people tune into the podcast to hear the Charlotte take. So give as many Charlotte takes as you want to give every single week. But I mean, honestly, like everything you said, I think is accurate. I think Charlotte obviously didn't look great. Like, right, like a 3-0 loss. There were some fluke goals in there, but at the end of the day, 3-0 loss is never something like great to look back at. But there were positive plays that I thought like you could definitely build off of game one of an MLS, life cycle. And I like TT Ortiz. I thought he looked strong, right? You pair him up with some more experienced talent in there, right? Like he gets Widerski in there. I'm excited to see what could possibly come of that for sure. But let's save some more of that talk, like you said. I know you wanted to hold back a little bit for next week. I get it. Let's see what 70,000 plus in a stadium, feels like for you next week when we get to talk about that energy. But
and I'm also going to make it to the rivalry game in Atlanta. So I'm doing my work here. I've got the first three
up and down the East Coast.
We're gonna get Vaughn story time 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh, that's a whole segment. That's a whole segment.
Yeah, Vaughn story time. I mean, you got to get it in the thing down below.
At MLS Fireside Chats with Vaughn.
Vaughn, how many drinks did you have at the Screaming Eagles? That's the main question that I need to know.
You think I remember? No, I don't know. I don't know. Well, okay, so I had at least 4 for sure at the tailgate. They had this great Atlas Brewing blood orange ghost that was like,
oh my god,
fantastic. So did that. Then somebody handed me some light beer. I don't know what that was. Down that.
Like, yeah.
we immediately walked into we were like ready to go, and like somebody was like waiting for the restroom, so we're like, okay, let's grab a beer, and then we're like, okay, no, we're leaving now. So I like shotgun that thing, get into the stadium, we get a drink immediately inside the stadium from a vendor. We're like walking to our seats, already pretty excited and happy and like in the moment, and then we hear somebody, hot chocolate with Bailey's, and we're like, that sounds pretty good. I didn't get any of that. But then they've got the vendors that are going up and down the stairs throughout the game. Got a couple of those. And then at one point, a beer just flew out of nowhere, sent from the gods. I don't know where it went.
Just like snatched it.
Exploded on the ground. Lost half of it. But like, it's a big beer. So yeah, mystery beer that just shows up at my feet.
Gotta love mystery beers.
And then after the game's wrapping up at 8:00, and we're in DC with nothing better to do. Where do we go? We go back to Atlas Brewing. So yeah, it was a fun time.
Vaughn, the real story is Vaughn was absolutely wasted. He had a giant beer and just dropped it. He was like, "Where the hell did that come from?"
But the football gods were looking out for me because I remember all of it. So it's amazing.
Perfect. Well, that sounds like a good day. Sounds very similar to my day. The last time, the only time I went to Audi Field. First of all, Audi Field's a beautiful stadium. DC, they did that right. Love that field. But yeah, I was highly intoxicated during my DC trip as well. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad you enjoyed fun. I'm excited to hear what the experience next week holds. I think it's going to be a very fun week and big game to talk about. Let's finish things up with, I guess, MLS action for week 1 and just talking about something that I feel like is huge, and we kind of touched on it already a little bit, in just early season road results, right? Because, most of the time I feel like, the home team generally wins in Major League Soccer, especially when you get cross-country travel and large distances and everything like that. But there were a few results that I think were definitely shocking. And Jason, I'll start with you with Nashville beating Seattle, I think being the most notable. Nashville obviously pulling off a 1-0 win over Seattle in Seattle, talking about road results. I mean, like, you can talk about road results, you can talk about this game specifically, but like, how big was this result for an early season?
I mean, Nashville's just, like I said before we even went live, like, this is Nashville doing their thing, doing what they do best.
Yeah.
Annoying teams until they find a tiny little opening, and then they strike and they score and they win. I mean, it's just Nashville being Nashville. It's a huge result. Obviously, I mean, they transferred over to the Western Conference. Everyone was like, oh, how will that be? They were obviously a very good team. And they're playing Seattle. Like the other CCL teams, Seattle maybe had a little bit of their minds on not specifically this game at the moment. But it's a win for Nashville. It's a big win for Nashville to go into Seattle and win. And I mean, I'm really annoyed that you forgot another road result here, but once again,
once again,
the
pivotal Fire Inter Miami game. Vaughn, do you want to talk about Nashville, Seattle, or any of the other road results from week one?
I mean, Nashville, Seattle was the big one. I mean, I think that's the one that really stands out. Of course, we could go on and talk about that at length as well. For Nashville, they caught Seattle once again after the CCL.
Double weekend.
So there's a little bit there that I'm like, okay, I can give a little bit of a pass to Seattle. But huge road win for Nashville, way to set the tone for their Western Conference, launching their first games there. And then the other one that was the team that got the win was New York Red Bulls beating San Jose. And man, I'm so concerned for San Jose. We talked about it in the lead up. I mean, and this is also one of those East versus West games, right? Like Red Bulls went and 3,000 miles away from their home and got a win and a easy one. And San Jose, who we already had concerns about, loses one of their best center backs in
Nathan.
I think torn meniscus is what they were saying he's suffering from. So it just gets worse for them. So great for Red Bulls, rough for San Jose. I'm much more concerned for them than I am Seattle.
Yeah, if you follow me on Twitter at MLS Aces, and you saw me communicating about Nathan being done for the season, please disregard that. I've had 80 people, including the San Jose Earthquakes, in my DMs telling me he is not done for the season. He's out for a few weeks. It's not a torn ACL, it's a torn meniscus. I apologize to San Jose Earthquakes Nation. But to your point, I really do want to quickly mention the Red Bull San Jose game. Obviously, a big 3-1 road win for the Red Bulls. Like, do you feel like this was a little bit of like kind of what Struber has been trying to get out of his club? Because I think it was last week or earlier on last week or 2 weeks ago, where Struber was pretty much kind of going down the Charlotte FC route. We're screwed. We didn't get the signings we wanted. Like, the team's not to the level we're at. I feel like Struber is the kind of guy who's like, I'm going to motivate you by telling you suck. And he got a strong performance week one. I don't know. Maybe that's just how I'm trying to view it, but he got a very strong performance from Dylan Nialis, Frankie Amaya, John Tolkien. I thought looked really good. Like, he got a very good performance. Maybe I'm trying to make Red Bull fans feel a little bit better. I don't know.
I'll help you here. Red Bulls just want to be NYCFC. This is Struber's Ronnie Dyla play.
There you go.
Saying he needs reinforcements at the start of the year, and then they go
Tom
on
doesn't need
MLS Cup run.
Thank you. Well, now that I feel better.
That's all that was happening here.
I mean, look, I can agree. People motivate people in different ways. So if this is how Struber's trying to do it, good for him. He got the result week one. Let's see if he can build on it. Caden Clark, you need to be better. That's my only critique of the Red Bulls. And yes, if you're watching this for the first time, I know I'm wearing a DC United jersey. I'm an NYCFC fan. This is mainly just because the only jersey in my closet of a winning team. The last thing that I want to mention, and this could be a little bit outside of MLS, even though this dude got his start in MLS, is Jesse Marsch. He is the next manager for Leeds in the Premier League, and he is the second manager. He's second American manager to get a Premier League head coaching gig, managerial gig, whatever you want to call it. I mean, a lot of what I've seen out there, I've seen it from very respectable people saying this could go great, this could go really bad. We'll have to just see. I mean, Jason, I know obviously you have ties to the Premier League with your favorite team, but do you like Marsch kind of taking the jump going to Leeds?
March to Leeds. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what happens. Obviously, I hope it goes well. Like, I feel like this isn't crazy for me to say, but yeah, I'm excited for it. I hope he finds success. I hope he can lead Leeds and keep them, from getting relegated, because there is a battle there. They are pretty close. So, I mean, also, if he can do well, it's sort of just like having players doing well overseas. It brings a little bit more eyes on the U.S., which is the biggest thing. So I really hope he does well, so that no man over there.
Jason, you froze up right at the end. It's all good. You look pretty doing it. Vaughn, I'm gonna turn to you, Vaughn. I mean, same thing, right? Like, you watch the Premier League a ton. You have your favorite club in the Premier League as well. Like, do you like Marsch kind of, I guess, he didn't really succeed in the Bundesliga. Now it almost feels like he's taking the step up and managing in the Premier League.
I mean, I don't think that in our lifetime I would have ever thought we'd have a jump from a Bielsa to Marsch sort of move. I think that in and of itself is pretty wild. It's surprising. It's surprising. And for Jesse Marsch, I hope that he can elevate the respect level for American coaches, right? Like, right now we've got this juxtaposition with his former assistant at Man U, right? Like, there's this whole problem with Armas and what he's doing there, and saying he's not to the level. So for Jesse Marsch, I just hope he can come in and prove that, yes, he is to this level. Yes, American coaches can fit at this level, because I believe in Jesse Marsch. I think other American coaches will be better for his success. I still think eventually, long term, I am hoping he's with the U.S. men's national team. So I want to see his growth and development continue. We've seen him in Austria, we've seen him in Germany, and now we're going to see him have an opportunity in England. And I think having those stops is going to make him a better coach in the long run. And so, yeah, absolutely hope for everyone's sake that he does well at Leeds.
Yeah, and I mean, I hope that this maybe can kind of confirm Brendan Aronson to Leeds. Obviously, Marsch managed Aronson when he was at Salzburg. Aronson played well under Marsch, all of that stuff. Aronson's been heavily connected to Leeds even before the Marsch announcement. So maybe this can get this to be pushed official, and we have another player playing in the Premier League. All right, let's finish things up. Let's just quickly look ahead. Everyone take a game that you're excited for in week 2. That's pretty much what I'm going for.
Can I add one more thing from week 1 that I feel terrible we did not cover? We didn't even mention Austin slapping FC Cincinnati 5-0.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but
Austin deserves some mention for that. I know FC Cincinnati, wooden spoon, but Austin absolutely deserves, like, to not even get a mention is cool.
That's fair.
So wanted to throw that in there.
I thought you were going to say FC Cincinnati deserves the mention for being, once again, back to back wooden spoon winners already. Well, congratulations, Cincinnati.
When was the last time we had a team score 5 goals and we were like, no, not of note?
Because it's against Cincinnati. That's why. But no, I mean, look, Austin definitely did not look like Austin of year 1. Truisi, I mean, Drew EC was probably not
Kip
probably
Keller.
their best player. Like, Kip Keller. Hey, Kip Keller got his debut, big debut. We didn't mention. Drew EC was probably their best player last year. Definitely their best player last year. A goal and assist in week 1. I think a goal and assist in week 1, maybe. Dominguez, Cecilio Dominguez, he had a brace, right? So like Austin was playing well. Again, I'm not gonna look too much into it. Yes, if it was a 5-0 win or a 2-0 win, it's still a win. But like, I don't know. If it's against Cincinnati, I know I hate like being like so down because I know we have a lot of listeners from Cincinnati, but like you beat up Cincinnati. Like I can beat up my I don't have a little brother, but if I had a little brother, I could beat up my little brother. God. You know, like that's just what it is, I guess, to an extent. But
we were so kind to FC Cincinnati today, guys. We buried this an hour in. Like, come on. We are good friends. We buried
That's
this
why we didn't want to
here.
talk about it, because we didn't actually want to make anyone upset.
Yeah, there may or may not be a specific FC Cincinnati podcast that sorry, phone is ringing. There may or may not be a specific FC Cincinnati podcast that I don't want to upset. We love you guys. Vaughn, to your point, that's why it's an hour in.
And can I add two more bullets?
Yeah.
2 more bullets. We did not mention the Chicharito goal at the death. That one deserves a mention.
Shouldn't have happened.
At Tom.
That's all I have to
Also,
say.
Tom burying it an hour in. We get it. It's fine. NYCFC can lose a game every now and then.
My point to that is this: it shouldn't have happened. Julian Araujo should have got a red card on Maxime Chanot, and that goal should have never have happened. That's my point. New York City should have continued their win streak from October of last year, and that's all I have to say. So what's your second bullet point, sir?
The last one was the goal of the week that we didn't comment on. Yimi Chara's bike.
Yeah. I mean, Jason, Timber Jason, I saw you tweeting about it. I saw you. Did I? You're a fan of him. Yeah, I think so. Maybe it wasn't you. Jesus.
I can't remember. I mean, I might have.
Well, you still saw the bike, right?
Yeah.
And also, can we all agree that this league is too big? Two more teams are coming in here. How are we doing this? This is insane.
Bro, I don't know. I feel like it has to almost be like for anyone to cover it. I'm not even saying us. I'm saying for anyone to accurately be able to cover and watch and do all of that, you need a large group of people. You need, like, if let's say it was this podcast in specific, I'm not saying anything to listeners or watchers of what we're doing. I'm just saying if it's a podcast that did one
hypothetically,
you have to split it up into 2 episodes a week, cover the East, or you can't even do that because they cross play. So I don't fucking know.
You need daily coverage. It's like the NFL, right? You need 365 days to spread it out. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. That is not,
unless someone wants to drop like a lot of money in our pockets, that ain't happening here. I can promise listeners that. Vaughn, any other bullet points would you like to add, sir?
I'm sure we missed something, but those 3, I was like, oh no, what have we done?
No, you totally didn't forget about RSL Houston.
Hey, Houston.
That did happen.
Hector Herrera most likely coming in the summer, apparently, according to reports. So Ache heading down to Ache town.
So maybe we won't have to completely ignore their games anymore.
Hey, he could connect it. You first of all, you and Sam weren't on for the Western Conference preview. Vaughn and I felt like Vaughn, correct me if I'm wrong, that we kind of had some positive feelings about Houston. Not overly positive, but you guys were just like,
no. I bashed them, but I said my prediction for Houston will change if Hector Herrera is brought in.
Once they sign Hector Herrera. Yeah, that's fair. I think I had the most hope for Houston, but all right. Let's finish things up. Let's quickly look ahead to next week. Just one game that you guys are excited to watch, excited to be at. Maybe Vaughn, I'm sure that there's one specific game next week you're very excited for if you want to kick things off.
Yeah, I mean, Charlotte LA Galaxy is going to be I am not even sure how to compartmentalize it, right? Like already for the first game in DC, like I lost sleep the night before. In DC, I lost sleep the game after the game. I mean, I don't even know how I'm going to feel. I mean, I know how loud us like 400 in that little corner of Audi Field were. And like the supporter section, like we haven't talked about, is that Charlotte supporter section is 4,000 people. It is the largest supporter section in MLS.
Wow.
So
that's like more than Dallas's attendance.
Yeah, so that there's going to be like 10 times as many people as of Charlotte fans that were in DC just in the supporter section. Bank of America is going to be loud. I'm so excited to see what the teams put together for like pregame and other entertainment, like the stuff that the team can control. I know the TIFO. I was very involved in the creation of the TIFO, and I think it's something that Charlotte is going to be really proud of. And I'm really looking forward to that execution happening. And yeah, I'm living like the dream in my mind of what's going to happen when that first goal is scored. Because it's going to come eventually.
Beer everywhere.
Yes. I mean,
mystery beers flying in everywhere.
Think about how many mystery beers you're going to get then. You should just bring a funnel.
I know it's going to be something special. I mean, and just the memories, right? Like, I am ready for so many people in the Charlotte community to have that, like, oh, I love soccer, and oh, I love Charlotte FC, and I love MLS. Like, we've all had that moment, and I know there's going to be so many people that have it. Yeah, me too.
Just because you know how many like casual people probably are going to go, and then like a big win would be so cool.
Yeah,
good atmosphere.
Or like a Swiderski banger, that'd be nice for the first goal, like, and just like a boot through the back of the net, pretty much. I mean, I'm excited for it. Obviously, when you guys are watching the game this weekend, the listeners know that there's a little bit of MLS Aces on your TV by Vaughn helping out with that TIFO. So I'm excited to see it. Jason, I'll turn it to you. Is there a game this weekend that you are pretty pumped for after week one?
I mean, I'm going to go to the Fire game versus Orlando.
Okay.
So
okay.
Excited about
That's
that.
Big.
Yeah, it should be fun. Orlando's a pretty solid team, so I mean, another test. Hopefully, we can compete. Really, I would like to score a goal. You know, I'd like something to cheer about.
So maybe we get Charlotte's first goal in their history this weekend.
Shaqiri's first banger in MLS.
Shaqiri's first goal, first win.
He had a couple of nice strikes in that game last weekend versus Miami.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Yeah. If I were to pick one that I'm not attending, it'd probably be Minnesota and Nashville.
Really?
Nice, you know. I don't know.
You're not excited about that?
No, I would be excited.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said you're not excited.
No. If I had to pick one game that I would be excited about that I'm not going to, it'd probably be Minnesota versus Nashville.
Got you. Yeah. I mean, I think that's going to be an awesome matchup. I'm not going to a soccer game this weekend. I'm sorry to break the chain here on the podcast, but I'm honestly excited, and this may sound weird. I'm excited for TFC Red Bulls. I don't know why. I kind of just want to see how both of these teams build off of week one. TFC obviously getting a road point against Dallas. Red Bulls getting 3 road points against San Jose. I kind of just want to see.
I hope they draw.
I hope it's a 0-0 draw. No, I mean, like, I'm excited to see, Marshall Rudy, another game for him at right back for TFC. I'm excited to see another game for TFC under Bob Bradley. And then the Red Bulls, if week one was just kind of a throwaway that they beat down on San Jose, or that maybe there is some stuff kind of just kind of clicking and starting going off underneath Struber for the Red Bull. So I'm excited just to kind of see the build up from week one into week two for them there. Obviously, there's a ton of super exciting games going on in week two. Check them out, and then obviously turn back next week to check us out because we're going to be talking about them. Vaughn, you said you look like you want to say something.
RSL Seattle is the revenge game for Seattle.
Yeah.
Like they've got the CCL congestion, but I just hope that there is. Swinging. I hope that there is some Ochoa and Seattle fisticuffs in that game. Like that's the one I'm as a casual fan, as like a neutral. That's the one that I'm really looking forward to.
And the games we're at don't conflict with that one, I don't think.
Yeah, and Well, Seattle doesn't play in CCL this week. They play in CCL next week. So
even better.
Fully,
They're gonna come in with boxing gloves.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm pumped for it. The other thing, obviously, we still have plenty of time to talk about it. Whatever. MLS Next Pro, they announced their first game. St. Louis City 2 is playing the Rochester, New York FC franchise, or club, whatever you want to consider them. Their name, I'm not 100% sure yet, but they're playing the first ever MLS Next Pro game on March 25th. That got announced, so pretty cool. We'll get it maybe a little bit.
Oh, Chicago Fire announced the team too.
Yeah, I think they're pretty much everyone is a 2 team except for some of the brands that have already been established, like the Monarchs, Defiance, Inter Miami went to Fort Lauderdale at CF went to Inter Miami too, which I thought was a travesty. I really liked Fort Lauderdale just being its own brand, but whatever. But yeah, so there's obviously a lot of exciting stuff going on. Check us out. Come back next week, because next week we're chatting about even more of it. Maybe we got more news. Maybe Hector Herrera's signing's official. We don't know. That's the beauty of Major League Soccer. And Vaughn, like you said, we'll try to cover every single team and news story that comes out, but it's getting pretty hard nowadays. Thank you guys for listening, watching, doing whatever you do. Wherever you're listening or watching, please subscribe, check us out, tell a friend. If you have a friend who kind of likes soccer, maybe we're the podcast to get them into Major League Soccer. I don't know, but just spread it out. If you guys hated the podcast, don't say anything. That works too. So thank you guys, and we'll talk to you next